In a silent courtroom, a woman in red stares at the man she once called her husband. He's signing their divorce papers, his new lover by his side. But what happens next will make everyone in that room question what love, loyalty, and justice truly mean. Subscribe for more emotional stories that touch your heart. Part 1. The papers on the table. The courtroom was cold that morning, not because of the air conditioning, but because of what was about to happen. Across the long wooden table sat Amara, her dark skin glowing softly under the courtroom lights, her red blouse a symbol of the fire she was holding inside. She had promised herself she wouldn't cry today, not after everything she had endured. Across from her sat Daniel, once her husband, now a stranger wearing a familiar face. His suit was perfectly pressed, his tie neat, the kind of appearance he always cared about. Beside him sat Chloe, the woman who had quietly stepped into Amara's life without permission, yet now sat confidently next to Daniel as if she belonged there. The judge, a man with a calm yet piercing gaze, observed the three of them silently. His face betrayed no emotion, but his eyes, those steady eyes, saw everything. The clerk's voice echoed, "Case number 3847, final hearing for the divorce of Daniel Carter and Amara Carter." Amara's hands trembled slightly as she reached for the pen. The papers before her blurred for a moment, not because she couldn't read them, but because each word carried the weight of broken vows, sleepless nights, and unanswered prayers. She took a deep breath and began to sign. Daniel watched, trying to look unaffected, but his jaw tightened. Maybe it was guilt, maybe it was pride. Chloe rested her hand on his arm, giving a little smile, as if to remind him he wasn't alone. But Amara saw it all, and deep down, she knew this was not victory for Chloe, nor for Daniel. This was the end of something sacred, and no one in that room would leave untouched. It hadn't always been this way. 3 years ago, Daniel and Amara were the couple everyone admired. They had built their lives from nothing, late nights, shared dreams, and a promise to stand by each other no matter what. Amara worked 2 jobs while Daniel studied for his law degree. She believed in him even when he doubted himself. She cooked for him, edited his notes, prayed for his success. And when he finally became a partner at his firm, Amara thought they had reached the dream they once whispered about. But success changes people, sometimes slowly, like water eroding stone. Daniel started coming home late. He said it was work. He said clients needed him. He said she worried too much. Then one night, she saw the message, "I can't stop thinking about you." Tomorrow, same hotel. Her heart didn't break in one loud crack, it shattered quietly, piece by piece. When she confronted him, he didn't deny it. He just looked at her and said, "Amara, you don't understand me anymore." Those words haunted her. The woman who had understood him more than anyone, now replaced by someone who barely knew his middle name. Now, sitting in that courtroom, Amara realized she wasn't angry anymore. She was tired of fighting for someone who had already left. The judge cleared his throat. "Mrs. Carter, do you have any last words before we finalize this divorce?" She looked up. Her voice was calm but steady, carrying years of quiet pain. "No, Your Honor, I've already said everything I needed to say, with my heart." The judge nodded slowly, and Mr. Carter, Daniel shifted uncomfortably. He didn't expect the question. He glanced at Chloe, who gave him a reassuring nod. He said softly, "No, Your Honor." But the judge didn't move forward. Instead, he leaned forward, slightly. "Mr. Carter," he said, "before I sign these papers, I want to make sure you understand something. Divorce isn't just about ending a marriage. It's about ending a promise. You both made one, and today, you're both breaking it. But tell me, are you sure that's what you want?" Daniel looked down, his fingers tapped the table. For a moment, something flickered in his eyes, hesitation, maybe regret, but he quickly masked it. "Yes, Your Honor, I'm sure." The judge nodded once. "Very well, but remember, regret is a paper you can't unsign." Those words hung in the air like smoke. Amara looked at the judge with quiet gratitude. He had spoken what her heart wanted to scream. As they stood up to leave, Chloe leaned in to whisper something to Daniel. Amara caught a glimpse of their reflection in the polished table, 2 people walking out together while she stood alone. But she wasn't broken, not anymore. Outside the courtroom, reporters whispered about Daniel's upcoming promotion, how he was the youngest partner in his firm's history. None of them knew the truth behind the man with the perfect smile. Amara walked down the courthouse steps, her heels clicking softly. For the first time in months, she breathed freely. As she reached her car, her phone buzzed, a message from an unknown number. I saw what happened in court today. You handled it with grace. You don't know me, but I'm proud of you, Judge R. She froze for a second, then smiled faintly. Maybe justice didn't always wear a robe. Sometimes, it was just kindness in disguise. That night, as Amara sat by her window, the city lights shimmering below, she whispered to herself. You didn't lose him, you found yourself. And for the first time, that truth didn't hurt. It healed. She opened her laptop, typing a new beginning, an application to start her own design business. Something that was hers, something that couldn't betray her. Because love may fail, people may fall, but self-respect, once reclaimed, becomes the foundation of a new life. The next morning, Daniel walked into his office expecting to feel light, unburdened. Instead, the silence in his chest felt heavier than ever. Chloe sat at his desk, scrolling through her phone. Finally, she said, smiling, "It's all official. No more secrets, no more hiding." Daniel forced a nod. Yeah, no more hiding. But as she spoke, her laughter felt too loud, too bright for a day like this. The coffee on his desk was bitter, the same way life suddenly tasted. He looked around the office walls, each photo, each framed certificate a reminder of the woman who had believed in him before any of this existed. Amara had been there when there were no walls, no desk, no prestige. Now, she was gone, and though Chloe tried to fill the space beside him, it already belonged to someone else, a ghost of kindness, loyalty, and quiet strength. That afternoon, Daniel was called back to the courthouse for one final document, the property settlement review. It was supposed to be quick. When he entered the courtroom again, he didn't expect to see the judge waiting with that same calm gaze. "Mr. Carter," the judge said, "before I approve this, I need clarification on one clause." Mrs. Carter refused financial compensation beyond her rightful share. She requested her half be donated to the community scholarship fund under your firm's name. "Is that correct?" Daniel blinked. She donated it. The judge nodded. "Every cent." She said she doesn't need money built on broken promises. She wants it to help others chasing dreams the way you once did. Daniel's breath caught. He could barely speak. That was Amara, giving, even as she walked away. The judge watched him quietly. Most people leave with bitterness. She left a legacy. You might want to ask yourself which one lasts longer. Those words struck deeper than any verdict. That night, Daniel couldn't sleep. He tossed, turned, tried to convince himself he'd done the right thing. But memory doesn't rest. It replayed. The night Amara stayed up till 3 a.m. proofreading his first big case, the way she waited with dinner gone cold, the note she once left, "Even if the world forgets you, I won't." He had thrown that note away months ago. But the words still lived somewhere he couldn't reach. Chloe came out of the shower, wrapping her hair in a towel. "You're quiet again. What's wrong? You should be happy. Everything worked out." Daniel looked at her. Everything worked out. He almost laughed at how hollow that sounded. "Yeah," he whispered, "everything worked out." But when he closed his eyes, all he saw was Amara walking down the courthouse steps alone, head held high, dignity unbroken. Weeks passed. Daniel tried to move on. He threw himself into work, took Chloe to expensive dinners, smiled for photos that didn't reach his eyes. But life has a way of mirroring the heart. The firm's biggest client withdrew unexpectedly. The promotion he was promised was postponed indefinitely. And one morning, as he scrolled through the news, he froze. Local designer launches scholarship program for underprivileged students. There was Amara, standing on a small stage, handing over the first scholarship certificate. The headline used the same name she had donated through, his firm's name. The crowd clapped. Amara smiled, not out of revenge, but peace. Daniel set his phone down, staring at nothing. In losing her, he had gained the mirror of who he truly was. A few days later, he asked to meet the judge. It wasn't common, but the judge agreed. In his office, Daniel stood with humility that didn't come easily anymore. "Your Honor," he said quietly, "I just wanted to thank you for what you said in court. You were right, I didn't just end a marriage. I ended a promise." The judge nodded, listening. "Mr. Carter, people think the courtroom is about punishment. It's not. It's about reflection. Regret can be the beginning of wisdom, if you let it change you." Daniel lowered his eyes. "I don't know if I can fix what I broke." "Maybe not," the judge replied gently. "But you can choose to become the kind of man she believed you could be." That night, Daniel walked past the community center where Amara's scholarship ceremony had been held. Through the window, he saw her teaching a group of young students how to prepare for interviews. She laughed with them, full of warmth and light. He stayed outside, unseen. For a moment, he wanted to go in, to apologize, to explain, to tell her she was right about everything. But he didn't. Some goodbyes are sacred. He simply whispered, "I'm sorry," to the quiet evening air and turned away. Chloe noticed his growing distance. One evening she confronted him. "You've been so distracted lately. Are you still in love with her?" Daniel paused for a long time before answering. "I'm not sure. Love is the right word. It's respect, something I forgot until it was gone." Chloe frowned. "So what about us?" He looked at her kindly, not cruelly. "Us, we were built on what was missing, not what was true. That's not love, it's escape." The silence that followed was heavy but honest. By morning, Chloe was gone, and Daniel didn't stop her. Months later, Daniel was invited to speak at a charity event. He accepted, not realizing who organized it, until he saw her name on the banner. When he stepped on stage, Amara was already there, seated with the guests. She didn't look away. He took a deep breath. "Good evening, everyone. Tonight, we're here because someone believed education can heal what pride can destroy. I used to think success was measured by what you win. Now I know it's measured by what you learn when you lose." The room was silent. Amara's eyes softened. For the first time, Daniel saw forgiveness there, not approval, not reunion, but peace. He finished his speech and quietly left before she could speak to him. He didn't need closure anymore. He had already found his punishment, living with the memory of someone who loved him better than he loved himself. A year later, Daniel started volunteering at that same scholarship foundation, quietly, anonymously. He never told Amara. He didn't want praise. He just wanted to give back to the goodness he once took for granted. One afternoon, as he helped a young student fill out forms, the boy asked, "Sir, why do you do this? You're a lawyer, right? You could be anywhere." Daniel smiled faintly. "Because someone once believed I could be better. I just want to prove her right." The judge's words. Months later, Daniel received a letter in the mail. It was from Judge R. Greater than Mr. Carter. "In this life, every choice signs its own paper, some legal, some moral. I hope you've learned that true justice isn't about punishment, it's about understanding the cost of a promise. Keep walking the path of reflection. It's never too late to honor what was once sacred." Daniel folded the letter and placed it beside a small framed photo of him and Amara, years ago, when dreams were still new. He whispered, "I hope you're happy, Amara. You deserve it." Then he turned off the light, leaving the picture glowing softly in the moonlight. A quiet reminder of love lost, lessons learned, and dignity regained.